Welcome to this video about deploying a Flogo app as an AWS Lambda function. With Flogo, you can build ultralight functions for all kinds of app development scenarios to create engaging user experiences. By deploying your Flogo app as an AWS Lambda function, you can take advantage of Lambda's automatic scaling and integrate the app with other AWS services. In this demonstration, we'll first set up an AWS connection. Then we will configure the Receive Lambda Invocation trigger to create an app in TCI Develop that can be deployed as an AWS Lambda function. We will also see how to deploy the app using an app binary file. Here's a checklist of everything we need before we start. The first is the Flogo app that you want to deploy. On the AWS side, you need an active AWS account. You also need the access key ID and secret access key. You can get this from the AWS IAM dashboard. Make sure that you have any other configuration data required for your AWS account. In this demo, we are using an existing Flogo app which retrieves book information based on the book ID. Let's inspect the business logic of the flow getBooks. This flow has a REST activity. The called API returns a JSON payload based on the ID received from the Lambda trigger. The data consists of book details such as title and author name. The return activity of the flow gives us the JSON data retrieved by the REST activity. To deploy this flow on AWS, we'll first set up an AWS connection. To set this up, open the Connections tab and click Create. Click AWS Connector from the dialog box. We'll give it a name and add a description. Next comes the custom endpoint, which is a URL used to connect to an AWS service. If your AWS compatible service does not have a standard service URL, set the custom endpoint option to true and provide the URL. You can also specify an alternate endpoint here. We're going to keep this as false. Select a region from the drop-down. We are using US West 2. Next, enter your access key ID and secret access key. If you're accessing the resources of another AWS account or role, set user assume role to true. Refer to the AWS assume role documentation for more information. Enter the role arm that you want to assume. Enter a role session name. Provide an external ID if you have one. We're going to retain the default expiration duration, which is 900 seconds. Click Save. Our AWS connection has been created successfully. After this, we'll add the Receive Lambda Invocation trigger to the flow. Scroll down to locate the Receive Lambda Invocation trigger. Select the AWS connection that we just created. Enter a sample JSON payload from which the schema will be generated and click Finish. The trigger has been added to the flow. Click the trigger to add more information. In Map to Flow Inputs, map the event payload. In the reply settings, we are going to use a predefined JSON schema for the trigger reply by enabling the Use App Level Schema toggle. In Map from Flow Outputs, map the flow data output to the flow response. Click Save to complete the configuration of the Receive Lambda Invocation trigger and close the dialog box. Now click Push to deploy the app to AWS. In your AWS Lambda console, your new app should be listed in the defined functions. To test the function, we'll create a test event. Open the function and go to the Test tab. Give the event a name. Provide the event payload, which in our case is the book ID to be retrieved. Now let's test this event. In the output of the flow, the details of the book are displayed based on the book ID we provided in the previous step. Similar to this, you can deploy the app as an AWS Lambda function from Flogo Enterprise as well. How you deploy this executable depends on the platform you are using. On Linux, the Flogo binary can deploy itself to Lambda. Build your app with a Linux AMD64 target. Add execution permission by running chmod +x on the executable. Run the target executable with the deploy parameter and the AWS access and secret keys. For other platforms, compress the executable, create a function in AWS Lambda, and upload your zipped executable file. In the runtime settings, the handler should be the name of your executable file. Create a test event and test it. In this video, we learned how to create an AWS connection and configure the receive Lambda invocation trigger. We also tested and deployed the flow in AWS Lambda. Check out the TIBCO Products YouTube channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.